This is the 2026 Big 12 Baseball Tournament presented by Allstate on ESPN. From the Valley of the Sun in Surprise, Arizona, it's day 2 of the 2026 tournament as the Baylor Bears make their Big 12 tournament debut against the BYU Cougars, who made their debut in a big way yesterday with a run rule win over Texas Tech. 18-8 was the final score as the Cougars took down the Red Raiders. Those 10 runs in the final 2 innings to end it in 7. And then Kansas State winning the nightcap over the Utah Utes to set up a date with the TCU Horned Frogs in the nightcap today. Alongside Alex Coyle, I'm Kyle Yeomans. And Alex, yesterday, as you can see there, the runs were aplenty for both games that were in participation. Today, it's a chance for the pitching to shine.
Yeah, definitely. And part of it is you're going to get some weekend starting pitching to set up on this day, too, as opposed to some bullpen games a day ago. But a chance for the defense to reset and to get some good pace out there.
And we saw plenty of bats from this BYU squad. 18 runs, 20 hits across the board, and they put up a run rule win. But it was Ryder Robinson that was one of the bats that set the tone.
Yeah, he was fantastic. Went 4 for 5 in the game with 3 RBIs and 3 runs scored. He set a single-game career high in base hits in that game. Had a double, had a triple as part of a 20-hit, 12 extra base hit slaughter of the Texas Tech pitching staff for this Cougars group.
And it was a record-setting opening matchup for BYU. They'll have a tougher time today against a Baylor pitching staff that does trot out a weekend starter, but as you can see there, set the single game tournament record for batting average, both as a school and in the Big 12 across the board, and BYU at 28 and 27 overall on the year. They're led by 4th-year head coach. Baylor led by also 4th-year head coach Mitch Thompson. And they'll trot out Lucas Davenport, his 13th start of the year. He's been tremendous at certain points throughout the season for Baylor, and really this BU squad relies on their starting pitching.
Man, you expect him to really rely on the sinker and dominate the bottom part of the strike zone. Look, he wants to get early plate appearance, contact against him, get that defense to work, and just simply a guy that throws a ton of strikes, Kyle.
Baylor comes in at 28 and 26 overall. They were 14 and 16 in Big 12 play. First pitch is popped up into left field. Crashing in is the left fielder Dylan Perez. The first out is recorded by the Bears. Baylor securing the bye from round 1 into round 2 with a late inning comeback against the Utah Utes in their regular season finale. 11-10 was the final score to take that series 2-1. If Baylor would have fallen in that game, they trailed 7-1 at some later points in that matchup. If they would have fallen in the regular season finale, it would have been BYU as the 8 seed, and Baylor would have been the 10 seed where Utah started yesterday. After the fly out for McChesney, it's Luke Anderson stepping in. Anderson yesterday, a 3-hit day, but he scored 4 times. A couple of singles, a double, 4 runs scored. Slow dribbler back up the middle. Davenport will toss it underhand to first. 2 down. Take a look at that Baylor defense, Alex, that might be tested by these Cougar bats today.
Yeah, definitely going to be tested, especially, again, as we mentioned, contact-type pitcher on the mound in Davenport, a group that it's always interesting because Baylor playing its first game on this field, right? First time reacting on fly balls at this angle. How quickly is the infield grass going to play? Something that they're going to have to settle in with early in this game and get used to as this game goes on.
Bringing up Ezra McNaughton. McNaughton, as did many of the Cougar bats yesterday, were fantastic. You'll hear that as a common theme, but he did leave the yard. One of the 5 home runs belonged to McNaughton. It was his 16th of the year, a 2-run blast in the 4th inning. Came off of Logan Addison from the Texas Tech pitching staff. Mesa, Arizona native himself, back in Arizona. So the tournament is in Arizona for the first time ever. What do you expect to see out of Davenport today?
Again, attacking that bottom of the strike zone like we've seen already. He wants to rely on the bread and butter fastball slash sinker, can touch it up to 96, even 97 on occasion, and then that nice slider to wrap it up.
3 up, 3 down, quick work. Less than 10 pitches in the opening frame for Lucas Davenport, just getting underway in Game 3 of the Big 12 tournament. We talked about the BYU starting lineup, but how about Tice Armstrong, Big 12 newcomer of the year, and also the new single-season Baylor home run king.
Yeah, record that had stood for nearly 30 seasons dating back to 1998. He had 24 home runs in the regular season, and he's on an unbelievable heater right now. 10 home runs in his last 12 games played. Look for him to set the tone in that 2-hole today.
Now, the previous record was 21 homers on the year. He broke it in the penultimate Big 12 series of the year for the Bears against Central Florida. Here's a look at the lineup top to bottom. It's consistency for Baylor that reigns true, not necessarily the power.
And they're going to be pests on the base paths simply because they have to. Yes, they do have their new program record in single-season home runs and a freshman record behind him in Brady Janusek with 13 long balls. But there's really nothing else outside of that top third in terms of power. They're going to get on base. They're going to be pests on that base paths and be a swarm of bees in the mind of the Wayland, the starting pitcher for BYU, and Wayland Crane.
Yeah, let's take a look at Crane, the senior transfer from Utah Valley. He was the Thursday starter for BYU. Of course, I say Thursday because they play Thursday through Saturday at BYU, and he earned that mark, pretty much stayed there throughout the season.
And looking for a little bit of consistency at the top of this rotation. And look, anytime you pitch at the high altitude, you're going to have an inflated ERA no matter what. We saw some good defense yesterday from BYU. They look to replicate that.
And Keone Painter out in center field, one of the few changes today. To allow Wolfgram was out there yesterday. Actually had a couple of dives in a row, including a brush with the wall where he was a bit shaken up. Initially looked like a pinch hit scenario. Wolfgram stayed in defensively to end the inning, and then Painter would come to the plate the next time he was due up, and Wolfgram did not return.
Yeah, Wolfgram also and out on the base paths that I don't think the coaching staff loved a little bit. So going back to a little bit more of a veteran presence out there in center field, and a guy that has been out there quite a bit.
Speaking of veteran presence, that's what Travis Sanders is. Junior named second team All Big 12, just stacking up the honors. He was a preseason Big 12 honoree as well. Crane from the left side. This is out and up. Works with a fastball, curveball, cutter. That fastball sits right around the low 90s, upper 80s, 91. Topping out maybe at 92. This one drops below the zone. Good take by Sanders. Crane on the year, 14 starts overall. He's about as consistent of an arm that BYU brought to the table, and he throws a ton of strikes. Really works to the heart of the zone. Checks Swing. Sanders can't hold up. They'll appeal down. He did go around 2-2.
Yeah, very similar styles in terms of pitching in the idea of they throw a ton of strikes and they want to dominate low in the zone. For Crane, it's more of his off speed that works really, really low in the strike zone. Of course, he doesn't have that electric fastball of the mid-90s that Davenport does, but another pinpoint control guy that has the occasion to run into some power troubles.
He gets the swing and a miss of Sanders. First out of the day is a strikeout victim. Sanders struck out 62 times but hit 376. Comes up empty.
Always impressive when there's a pitcher that trusts his slider, especially against off-handed batters, to be an out pitch. But again, it has so much downward movement. That playing off his curveball so well as well makes him really effective against both sides of the plate.
Here's our highlighted bat for the Bears, Tice Armstrong. First team All Big 12, newcomer of the year in the league. Past Charlie Carter, who was the home run king in a single season for Baylor since the 1998 season. Now he gives a hold of this one, but foul as it hooks to the left of the foul pole. May have had some distance there, but it's a long strike.
He's shown some enjoyment hitting during the day in Arizona this season. A 2-homer game to wrap up a series against Arizona State about a month ago to start that stretch of unbelievable power over the last 12 games.
And when he broke the single season mark back on May 10th against UCF, the question was how high could that number go? He ended up tacking on 2 more in the series against Utah, but he wasn't alone there. Baylor slugged 11 homers in that regular season finale series against the Utes. Swing and a miss on the high heater, 90. 2-2 again. An 11 home run mark by Baylor was the most by any series that Baylor has had in the Mitch Thompson era. This one drops low. "15 homers over the last 4 games by Baylor," which sounds impressive. And then you look to the other dugout and you see a team that had 5 last night on the BYU side. Armstrong takes for ball 4. First base runner on here in game 3.
Armstrong is a really good plate appearance. Not just a power guy, but he hits with the average, the ability to get on base. The walk rate has his on-base percentage well more than 100 points above his batting average, and Baylor gets that first base runner to the ball game. It's a good freshman at the plate.
And Brady Janusek. He was named All Big 12 freshman team. No surprise there. He's one of the top freshmen in the league as he rips this one deep in the left field. Giving chase is McChesney, but it's over his head into the wall. Armstrong will be held up at third. It's a 1-out double in the first at bat for Brady Janusek.
And takes a slider that was hung right on the top of the strike zone and showcases some of that power that he has. 13 home runs, a new freshman record at Baylor. And waste no time. First pitch swinging. Just out of the reach of McChesney. He couldn't get enough hops on that. And Baylor truly in business.
Double number 11 of his debut campaign. Everyday right fielder for the Bears. An all-around athlete that Mitch Thompson says is just a pleasure to watch. And that's a pleasure to watch as well. Seeing eye single into right. That'll score Armstrong. Here comes Janusek, who dives in. A 2-run single for Pearson. Reebok, and Baylor is on the board first.
This is the kind of stuff that they have done all season. Not a home run hitting team outside of the 2 guys at Armstrong and Janusek, but they are clutch. They put bat on ball. They simply move runners. He knows that if I can get this on the ground to the pull side, at least bring 1 home. Placed it perfectly to make it a 2-0 lead.
Reebok, who saw some struggles earlier in the campaign, has really picked it up as of late. Broke his finger in the 3rd week of the year. Played through it, but never really found the stroke at the plate that he had shown as a freshman out of Rockwall last year. But as a sophomore season did drag on a bit, the average slowly started to creep up. There's another one into the alley. That will roll all the way to the warning track. Around third, on his way to the plate is Reebok. It's a triple for Brighton Clements. The Bears bats are awake early.
And right now, Crane is just getting way too much of the plate against a good bat-to-ball team. And Baylor is making him pay. Starting to spray this ball to all fields. Good swing to take that thing the other way, 100 miles an hour on a line, and bring out the pitching coach.
This is a Baylor team that is littered with underclassmen, some scattered experience with guys like Sanders and Armstrong, but really it's been the youth that has helped propel the Bears, and you can see that over the last three hitters. Janusek, a true freshman. Reebok, a true sophomore. Brighton Clements is a redshirt freshman. And these are underclassmen for the Bears that in 3 straight at-bats have hit a double, a 2-run single, and then an RBI triple.
Yeah, Coach Mitch Thompson mentioned that he loves where the team is at mentally right now. It feels like they're ready to play some of their best baseball and play some consistent ball. And handful of batters into this ball game, and he's already seeing that.
Infield is in for BYU as Dylan Perez steps in. Perez, the freshman, who was an occasional pinch hitter and rotational player until he really took over as a designated hitter option and in the field. This one chopped to first. They'll take the throw to the plate in a rundown at second. 1 out and a throw to second ends the inning. The base running comes back to bite the Bears as BYU guns down Clements at the plate, gets in a rundown, and as Perez turns to second, he gets caught at the bat.
Just not enough time for him to get to second base, and caught in no man's land on both ends.
An odd ending to the bottom half of the first, but Baylor strikes for 3. 2-run single from Pearson Reebok, and then Brighton Clements follows with what is now being tabbed as an RBI double.
Thanks.
And then a fielding error in the outfield allowed him to reach to third. 3-0 Bears as we head to the second. First pitch swinging, but right at the third baseman in Longclose as Robinson is retired. Put good bat on the ball, but just right out of glove.
And it's good pitcher's pitch too off the plate, but bat on ball from Ryder Robinson continues to torch things. Had him slightly to pull in the shift. Of course he goes the opposite way to the hot corner. Baylor playing some good defense here.
Easton Jones batting in the 5 spot again. two-homer day to begin his Big 12 tournament. Had a solo blast in the 5th inning. 2-run game winner to put it as a 10-run rule over Texas Tech. 2-run blast to right field to conclude yesterday's ball game in the 7th. Almost had a third. Back in the 3rd inning of that game, he hit one off the very top of the wall. Actually hit the fan fence above the padding, and as we've now been clarified, that is in play. So it looked like a homer initially, but very, very close. Swings and misses here.
Yeah, there's 2 stanchions out there. One is the wall and the fan fence, as you mentioned, and then behind that there's like a mesh / chain link thing that if it hits that, it would be a home run, but that one hit the railing above that wall instead. There's a good shot of it.
That chain link at the bottom is what it caromed off of, but it hit the padding first. Right where that red is, and it turns to green. Hit that padding and then ricocheted off of the mesh at the bottom of that fence line. Ended up with 2 homers either way. It's going to be different to try and do so against Davenport in this one, though. Did a nice job of navigating through the 1st inning on just 9 pitches. But he does miss outside for ball 4.
None of those misses were really bad misses either. Just, some good takes from Easton Jones. Baylor got things started with a 1-out walk in the bottom half of this inning. Let's see how BYU responds with one.
Only the 15th walk allowed by Davenport this year. It's one of the best teams in the Big 12 in terms of base on balls allowed. Less than 200 on the year, which is 3rd in the conference. Davenport specifically was out of the bullpen, put out some fires throughout, so he earned the right to start. Ultimately earned his way all the way to the Friday spot. Quick pickoff move over to 1st. It was close, but back in time is Jones.
He's in top 40 nationally in strikeout to walk ratio, just shy of 5. Strikeouts per free pass.
Baylor pitching coach Sean Snedeker, who's been around the game for quite some time, 18 years of collegiate coaching experience, and even more outside of that. It's one of his key pillars to win baseball games. There's a swing and a miss. 85 on the inside. But he said free passes. The team that normally loses the free pass, the free bases battle in a game, loses the game close to 87% of the time. And because of that, that is one of the things Baylor has tried to limit throughout their season. Got off to a quick start in conference play. Stumbled a bit down the stretch, but found their rhythm again over their last 4 games. Wins in 3 of their last 4. Chance at 2 here. Sanders over to 2nd. And then the 1st off the turn from Reebok. Retires the side in the 2nd for Lucas Davenport and the Bears.
Again, living on the ground with the sinker, mid-90s with it, and rolls a tailor-made double play to erase that walk.
The main obstacle has been the same throughout my life, is you're not big enough, you're not fast enough, you're not strong enough. And so just kind of having that chip on my shoulder of like, all right, head first down some ice, that's the way we're gonna go. Working with KRT Athletic Muscle Cream has helped me improve every aspect of my physicality. So being able to have my muscle, my joints, and my tendons healthy, not cramp up, and be ready to achieve the extra reps, because those extra reps are what's gonna make the difference between a medal and a non-medal.
Hell of a good.
Seriously? No hell of a good dip?
Whoa, creamy. A double dip. Where's Jill?
Hell of a good.
It's not a party without hell of a good.
Hell of a good.
Hello?
We truly are a different league.
They have done it. A top 4 seed in the college football playoff.
The Horned Frogs leap their way to the College Cup. They're down. Omaha bound. Take cover. Can you believe it? Put that on the highlight reel. National champions.
Beautiful surprise, Arizona. It's the spring training home to the Texas Rangers and the Kansas City Royals. This one's chopped foul. First pitch swinging has been aggressive so far by Baylor. Prior to that, the last 4 Baylor bats put the first pitch in play. Buchanan trying to do the same in his first plate appearance. First time that the Big 12 tournament has ever made its way out of Texas or Oklahoma. Baylor, the second Texas team to play in the tournament. It was Texas Tech that started things off. Fell to BYU yesterday. TCU will play in the nightcap today against Kansas State. Trio of Lone Star State participants in the first 2 rounds. That would be, tonight's game is about as close as you would get to a couple college editions of the Rangers versus the Royals as TCU takes on Kansas State. Manhattan and Fort Worth, not quite Arlington and Kansas City, close there to it.
This is a beautiful facility, though. Grounds crew did a fantastic job, too, to keep it in tip-top spring training shape for this tournament.
Buchanan watches this one high at 84. Down to first, he'll go with a leadoff walk. That was the first thing you said yesterday when we walked out onto the field the first time. You said, this looks awesome.
Oh, yeah.
This playing surface is perfect.
And especially, like, when it gets to May, this time of year, and into June, look, that sun really beats it down. So you got to make sure you have that perfect blend of Bermuda that truly thrives in the triple-digit heat. But whatever blend they have working is pretty nice.
Quick appeal on the check swing down to third, but Ty Johnson avoids going around.
It's got to be valuable, too, to have so many fields here as well. So, you know, when you stack 4 games in a day like they will tomorrow, teams can warm up and take batting practice on the backfields and show up. 45 minutes after final out, we're ready to roll. We don't even need anything else and continue to play some baseball. It's a perfect setup.
That's the one element, though, that coaches will have to combat is the first time that they'll see the field throughout the tournament is in-game plays. This one bunted foul from Johnson. You mentioned briefly earlier the conversation with Mitch Thompson. It's going to be wild that whoever does end up making the semifinals in the championship game, they won't take BP on the field. They won't take infield and outfield at any point throughout the day. They'll do so on the backfields here of the spring training complex and then immediately get out and play. Saw it affect BYU once on a play off the wall late in the game yesterday.
And part of that conversation, you know, as an outfielder, you have to be comfortable with the angles of the outfield, how quickly it's going to come off that pad. What type of spin does it create on the baseball, too?
Johnson squares the bunt again, pushes it to first. Fielded by McNaughton, and he'll toss it for the sacrifice. On to second goes Buchanan, one down, but a runner in scoring position for the Bears again.
Yeah, it's been a staple of Baylor's season, really, is the idea to play small ball, especially with the bottom 6 guys in their lineup, push across runs, steal a ton of bases, run the bases to perfection, and put pressure on a defense to get them out. Get a leadoff walk, automatically get him in scoring position with a sacrifice bunt.
Brings up the third baseman, Cole Longclose. Again, Baylor aggressive early in these counts as he swings at the first pitch. Freshman out of the hot corner for Baylor. Turns and bunts this one. Perfectly placed. Tough play by the catcher in Erickson, but he does field it nicely. Another sacrifice now moves Buchanan to third. That was a tough play by Erickson. Had to get out there quickly.
And an age where you don't even rarely see a bunt with nobody out. How about consecutive bunts to get a runner to third? That one was a beauty, but good defense there from Erickson to pounce out of the crouch and fire the baseball over. Going to give an opportunity to their top of the order and their lineup leader in batting average and Travis Sanders to knock home a run.
Sanders struck out swinging against Crane early. Waylon Crane with 49 strikeouts on the year. Just 33 walks. Baylor put up the 3 spot in the first inning. A chance of one more here. Possibly more if Sanders can continue the frame. Crane listed at 6 foot, 180 pounds out of Delta, Utah. Foul tip into the glove by Sanders, 1-1.
Yeah, if he's expecting slider, he tags that thing to the gap. That thing was hung very similar to the pitch to Brady Janusek that he doubled on in that first inning.
Leaves this high. When you hang a slider like that as a pitcher, do you normally try and stay away from it on the next pitch, or do you go back to it to try and keep it down a bit?
It depends on if the hitter's expecting it or not. Sometimes the best pitch is the worst slider you can throw and no one is ready for it. The old cement mixer, it doesn't do anything. It just sits there, frees a guy.
He's left the last 3 up, including the hanging slider that was a swing and a miss, but then a couple straight that have reached the top of the zone, or above the zone rather. Put Sanders at 3-1. Inside ball 4. It's a 2-out walk with runners now at the corners from one of the more dangerous power bats in the Big 12.
Yeah, you mentioned him missing high and wide in the first handful of offerings. Then he overcompensated for pitch right there. And look, normally you'd say, all right, can he find a way to get a breaking ball, a big looping curveball to reset the mechanics and reset the timing? Not against this guy. You don't want to hang a breaking ball over the heart of the plate, or else he'll pound it out of here.
Check swing. This is low. 24 homers on the year for Armstrong. Last year, the Big 12 did not even see more than 2 20 homers, or 2 players with more than 20 homers on the year. That was the tops in the league. This year, 5 players with more than 20, including Armstrong, who's 4th behind Colin Ritchie of Oklahoma State, league leader with 29. Quentin Coates out of Cincinnati, he had 28. Landon Hairston out of Arizona State had 27 as well. This one's up and out.
And BYU going to get that bullpen working out there and right. Left-hander tossing.
Not the part of the lineup that you can afford to give a free pass to. 3-0 on the way. Armstrong lays off. Back-to-back walks. 3 in the inning. 4th of the game, and the bases are loaded for Brady Janusek.
Look, they need to win 5 games in 5 days. You really can't call it a luxury, but the silver lining, in addition to getting a run rule victory yesterday, was they only had to use 2 guys out of the bullpen. They used 3 total pitchers, which was the fewest of anybody in the games yesterday. And so they've got all kinds of guys available out of the bullpen. You can be a little bit more aggressive in this situation. And if you get the left-hander out quick enough and you have the benefit of winning a couple of games, he can bounce back a little bit sooner, only throwing 37 pitches so far. But it's going to be his inning to try to sneak out of.
Saw a quick look at Coach Pratt, who is on the top step of that BYU dugout. Brady Janusek, .333 hitter on the year with the bases loaded. Everybody on but 2 outs. The home half of the second. First pitch is a called strike. That's a big one. It feels that way for Crane.
Yeah, something to get Baylor back into some swing mode.
Baylor with 4 walks, 3 hits, including 2 for extra base hits in their 11 plate appearances so far.
Starting to flex that arm a little bit.
Big swing by the freshman comes up empty, 1-2.
And that's why that first pitch strike is so important. Because pitch sequencing doesn't matter if you're not consistently around the zone. The hitter has to respect your pitch and think that, oh, this has a possibility of being a strike out of the hand.
Janusek on the 1-2 into left field. It's a line drive base hit. It'll plate 2 more for the Bears. What a start to Janusek's Big 12 tournament career.
Couple of big swings on sliders. He likes that pitch over the heart of the plate. Not many hitters that don't. Both screaming line drives. This one right into left. He gets his 2 RBIs out of it, and might be a quick day for the left-hander from BYU.
That is the case. As Crane walks back to the first base dugout, Baylor with 5 runs on the board, just 4 hits. The walks come back to bite the BYU starter. New pitcher on the way for the Cougars. Another lefty, this time out of the bullpen for BYU. It's Johnson, excuse me, the senior. Johnson, second team all-conference. He was also named the Big 12 Scholar Athlete of the Year for baseball. How about it being a neuroscience major?
Wow.
With a 3.85 GPA. And he was fantastic in his last outing, went 4 innings, gave up just 1 earned, and had multiple strikeouts in that game. He's been called upon quite a bit. This is appearance number 23.
Yeah, essentially their back end relief ace led the team in saves, had 5 of those on the campaign, and pitched really well, as you mentioned on those numbers, but sometimes does run into the extra base hit a little bit too often. 16 of those over 51 innings pitched, and his job is just to find a way to restore some order in this game. and give the BYU offense a chance to get itself back into it. Remember, just yesterday they trailed by 4 runs early in the game and found a way to claw back, scratch and claw, and put up big numbers consistently with the offense.
And when you look at his numbers on the year, just 1-4, but it's the 4.24 ERA. He's been thrown into some tough situations throughout and come through quite a bit for BYU. They're confident seeing him in a scenario like this. Runners at first and second, 2 outs. After a couple of sacrifice bunts, put a runner on. Some BYU faithful in attendance. It's on AJ DeBonsa jersey there.
What is he, #1 pick? What do you think?
I think so.
Okay.
He should be. Baylor's had some pretty good basketball over the last few years themselves.
Yeah.
Now meeting on the diamond.
Good thing is, no matter what, that #1 pick's coming from the Big 12.
That is very true, as it should. Here's Pearson Reebok. Had the first big swing of the day with a 2-run single an inning ago. 21 RBIs now on the year for the Baylor sophomore. 9th time that BYU and Baylor have met. Baylor has won 5 of the last 6, a sweep in Provo last year, and took 2 of 3 from BYU in Waco this year. Swing and a miss. Ends the inning as Reebok is retired on 3 pitches. Ashton Johnson comes in, does his job, and the Bears tack on 2 more. They lead it 5-0 through 2. What a start for Baylor in their opening game of the Big 12 tournament. 2026 Big 12 tournament action. From Surprise, Arizona, Baylor up by 5 through 2 with their Friday starter on the hill. Benefited from a double play in his last time on the bump. Against the BYU lineup that is looking to spark a bit of a comeback. They did come from behind, down by 4 in yesterday's ball game. 5-1 score. Texas Tech was on top at the home half of the 3rd. This one's popped in the air, left field, tracking it down into the corner, and he can't get there. Perez nearly made a phenomenal play, but instead it ends up with Matt Hansen standing at 3rd.
He had a long run to get there, and it just kind of missed his glove. A lot of times that head pops up and down as you're sprinting and really turn on the jets in the outfield. It can change the eye level, change your angle on it. Just, that may have even hit the glove. Then he trips down over there. Opportunity for BYU here to answer back. But if you're Davenport pitching with a 5-run lead, just continue to attack.
He did label it as a hit It was a triple. Probably the right call. Way too far to go to classify that as an error, despite it hitting a bit of the glove. It's a tough play regardless, and now Painter has an RBI chance.
It's their 4th triple of the tournament.
And inside it goes. It hits Painter. He's on his way to first base. Yeah, if the BYU bats can find a way to a similar recipe that they had against Texas Tech with 12 extra base hits,
look out.
You might be okay even with a 5-run deficit at the moment. As we mentioned, it's much tougher to do against this Baylor pitching staff. Texas Tech so thin on the mound in terms of the arms they had available, and the bottom of the league in most of the major statistical pitching categories. Baylor not so much as Erickson steps in. How about the day for Ridge Erickson yesterday? Comes in hitting 189 and then ropes 2 homers, a solo shot and a 2-run blast. Had just 3 all year long in nearly 100 at-bats, actually 95 at-bats going into the game. Had 3 homers. He hit 2 out of 4 at-bats yesterday.
Yeah, don't tell him this place plays large.
And he rips this one. Ball looking like a beach ball for Ridge Erickson. He singles and drives in the first BYU run of the day.
Now this could get really interesting with the top of the order coming to the plate. It faced the minimum on no hits through the first 2 innings, and then triple hit by pitch single. And we'll see what kind of look BYU has on him now, a second time through the order today. Somehow pulls this slider that was out just off the plate and yanks it into left center field for the RBI.
So now it's McChesney, Anderson, McNaughton, Robinson. Crucial part of the order for BYU. With 1 run across, nobody out, and 2 on. As Painter goes from first to third on that single from Erickson. McChesney takes it low. One of 2 hitters in the BYU order that did not hit safely in yesterday's contest. Went 0 for 5 in that game with a couple of strikeouts. Never actually left the infield. He will leave the infield here, though. Into center. RBI single for McChesney as he joins the hit party. And going from first to third is Ridge Erickson now. The BYU bats are coming alive.
They had that tying run at the plate with nobody out. Trusting this group of bats is a small reason why you go to your relief ace and a shutdown guy to restore order in that bottom of the 2nd inning. Now mini rally brewing. With your big boppers starting to come to the plate. Anderson, and then it's McNaughton and Ryder Robinson.
That's probably the message here from Sean Schnedeker. Quick and concise as he just goes out. Chance with Davenport, tall right-hander. And then he gets back to the third base dugout. Davenport, transfer from Blinn College, originally from Prosper, Texas. It's a baseball hotbed for talent just north of Frisco in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. This one drops low for ball 1. Anderson dribbled one back up the middle to Davenport. Was retired on the ground ball. Waves at this one.
And I think that message in that mound visit was saying, hey, let's just get a ground ball here. Trust the defense behind you that's already turned one. Live on. You're fine allowing that run from third to score if you can't get 2.
Part of the benefit of having 5 runs in your first 2 at-bats as a team. Strikeouts have been plentiful as of late for Davenport. Had a stretch in the middle of conference play where put up 5 strikeouts against West Virginia, Oklahoma State, BYU, Cincinnati, TCU, Arizona State, and Texas Tech. At least 5 strikeouts in each of those starts. Then he goes up against UCF and Utah. Ended up with a loss in each of those 2 games and only ended with 4 innings pitched in each. Hasn't seen his best stuff lately, but trying to battle here.
What does he trust as his put away? Used the slider to get Ezra McNaughton swinging and missing back in the first, but what's he going to go with here?
Hard hit ball, misplayed down the third baseline and into left. BYU with the tying run and scoring position here in the third.
Yeah, I think Lenkloss, the third baseman, just had a little bit too much time and more time than he thought. Sounded like it was hit on the screws off the bat, but it was more toward the end of the bat. Awkward spin on it, and instead of getting himself in position to field this one parallel, he just kind of side swipes at it, whiffed on the baseball. A double play that could have gotten the first 2 outs of the inning goes for naught.
This is how quickly BYU can strike. One of the best bats in their lineup now at the plate with 2 in scoring position. Nobody retired. Triple, a hit by pitch, a couple of RBI singles, and then now what they call a double. And a 2-run spot there as well. This one's deep into the hole, past the sliding glove of Reebok and into right. Just like that, a blink of an eye, and it's now 5-5.
What this BYU offense has done over the last 2 days is just outstanding. No lead is safe against them. Trailed 5-1 in this same third inning yesterday. They fought for 3 in that one to get within a run. How about a 5-0 deficit here in a 5 spot without an out to tie the ball game? Now they're in the driver's seat to possibly take the lead in this inning.
All that work that Baylor put together with the small ball combined with the extra base hits and the 3 spot in the first, followed by 2 more in the second, all erased over the course of 6 batters. That's all it took for BYU to bite back. It's right around the time where I'd say buckle up. We've got a fun one incoming, and we've already had some fun. There's a swing and a miss.
I mean, through 10 innings at the plate, BYU scored 23 runs.
Wow.
In this tournament. They didn't even complete the full 7th inning yesterday.
There's another hit. That's number 26 of the tournament for BYU. On to third goes McNaughton. Robinson stays high.
Yeah, this is starting to get to some tough luck territory because that's an 84-mile-an-hour ground ball that just sees its way into right. When you're a contact guy on the mound, you can find some tough luck. You have to get used to working around some traffic on the base paths and a couple of base hits that maybe you don't think should be roped out there into the outfield. But right now, it's all coming in bunches for BYU.
Called strike starts the at-bat with Jones. He walked and then was part of the double play in the second.
Just think of the almost in this inning defensively. That play in left has started to set the triple for Hansen. The play at third that could have been a double play was ruled a double. And the squeaking singles that have surrounded those. No true rocket base hit in this inning outside of the knock from Crew McChesney.
That might be why Baylor, as a coaching staff, has been so reluctant to get somebody up and throwing. Now there's a lefty throwing in the Baylor pen, but still off the mound work at the moment, just working some flat ground stuff. This is up and out. But Davenport at the moment tabbed, trying to get the first out of the inning. Go ahead run just 90 feet away. Now he's seen this count go forward.
And BYU is just not offering on anything outside of the zone. Like, he's getting the 2 strikes. He's been almost 70% strike rate so far in this outing, but can't put him away.
3-2. Right off the end of the bat and into the screen. There's a look at Easton's numbers. Inside and low, ball 4. Jones has walked in each of his plate appearances today as BYU bats around here in the 3rd. Without an out, I might add.
Yeah, and lefty getting loose, starting to get much more hot. Put out the distress call through the radio to really get loose. Lefty on deck. This is going to be the last guy.
That's Ethan Calder. Calder is the Sunday starter for Baylor. So Baylor may have to throw multiple rotation guys just to get out of the first few innings of their opening game.
And Davenport, he's fighting it right now. He's perplexed because he has had no answer to find swing and miss once he's gotten ahead.
Herdsman, who grounded into that double play earlier, with his second chance. Now with the bases loaded, hitting 200 with runners on every base. Checks his swing. He did go around, says first base umpire Mike Morris.
That was a tight one. First base dugout didn't like it.
Ooh.
And they're right.
Yeah, wow. Baylor benefits from that one. Certainly in real time, it didn't seem as such. I was a bit surprised to see the call down the appeal. But it is 2-2. Crucial at bat for both sides. Pop fly right side. It is deep and carrying into the wind. It'll go all the way to the warning track, plenty deep to score the run from 3rd. It's a sacrifice fly as BYU takes their first lead.
A little bit of everything for BYU in this inning. They added the sacrifice fly to that number, and they've ruined scorecards in this 3rd.
I like that. As you fill in the scorecard, you'll see a lot of colored in base paths as the first 6 batters to come to the plate have all scored in this inning. This is the first out, and the next 2 are still on base at 1st and 3rd. And here comes Mitch Thompson. As you mentioned, that was the last one for Lucas Davenport. Tough outing for the otherwise stellar Friday night starter for the Baylor Bears this season. Worked through the first 2 innings scoreless and hitless. He gets roughed up by BYU bats here in the 3rd. It's the senior from Lake Travis High School just outside of Austin. Ethan Calder on out of the bullpen. Just his second appearance out of the pen this year, as he's started 14 games for the Bears and been their go-to Sunday starter. Mr. Consistency throughout the year for Mitch Thompson and company.
Yeah, he's again very similar to what we saw with Ashton Johnson in the bottom half of the second. Just restore order, find a way to get me out of this inning. Ground ball would be awesome, but comes in to face a left-handed hitting DH in Matt Hansen, who started this thing with a triple down the left field line.
Calder, the left-hander, going up against a couple of lefties late in this lineup for BYU. Hansen and Painter batting from the left side. Then he'll face the righty and Erickson, then back to the top with Krugman Chesney, who's also a lefty. So playing the matchups a little bit here, but really this is just to start him off with some success, try and get out of the inning and limit the damage any further. But then they want Calder to probably go a bit here.
Yeah, definitely. Especially if their offense can show some fight when they come to the plate in the bottom half of this inning to answer in some fashion. Now both teams are off of their scheduled plan in the pitch mapping, and so it's truly up for grabs. This is setting up for some great high drama baseball in an elimination game.
And both starters chased. It was Waylon Crane for BYU. After just an inning and a couple, he gives way for Ashton Johnston, and now Lucas Davenport out after 2 1/3. Swing and a miss to start the first at-bat against Calder. Matt Hansen, who tripled in his first at-bat, started the inning. Like you said, that was one of the what-ifs of this third inning for the Baylor defense. Quick look over to first as he misses outside again. Buchanan reaches the glove out into the opposite batter's box. Six runs on 6 hits and an error for BYU. Almost the same pitch, but this time Hansen offers up.
Such a good veteran presence on that mound, and a guy that bleeds Baylor athletics. Comes from a long line of Baylor alumni all the way back to his grandfather Billy, who played football at Baylor.
Comes in and does his job early. 4-pitch strikeout to retire Hansen for a big second out.
And he's one of the identity guys of this program, right? Especially in a fourth year now for Mitch Thompson as the head coach. With a very young roster, you need one of those veterans, that especially a guy that has been at Baylor his entire life and knows the culture of what works at that university and how to represent the school like he has in his career. Sets a nice tone and a great young core that is going to continue to get better and better under Mitch Thompson in years to come.
Think about how young this team is. Mitch Thompson, another one of those guys that bleeds Baylor green and gold. And so part of the Baylor years where under Steve Smith went to the College World Series and made some deep runs into regionals and super regionals out in Waco. Good breaking ball for a strike.
Got a gift there. That was well high.
1-1. Check swing, appeal down. He went around again. That one also close. This time Casey Mosier calls a strike, and it's 1-2. This Baylor team through 54 games in the regular season, 46% of their total plate appearances were taken by players less than 55 career plate appearances entering the year. That's a pretty stout number of guys that hadn't seen a whole lot of college baseball, but have been around. Even 41% of Baylor's innings pitched thrown by players who had less than 5 career innings coming in at the Division I level this year. Swing and a miss here, and there's the veteran making an impact, pounds his chest as he goes back to the third base dugout. Baylor closes the frame, but BYU with the damage.
And it was all a bit of everything, a triple, a double, then the string of base hits. 6 runs in this third to take that lead.
Six runs on 6 hits for the BYU Bats in the top of the third. They take a 6-5 advantage after Baylor jumped down in front 5-0. Now Baylor has a chance to respond. It's the 5, 6, and 7 hitters due up against Ashton Johnston, who came in and retired the one batter he faced to bring the second inning to a close. Baylor put up 3 runs in the first, 2 more in the second before BYU finally answered with 6 of their own. Second time in the tournament already the BYU has put up at least 6 runs in an inning. Had 7 in the 6th frame of yesterday's ball game. Almost mirroring what we saw in the early innings between Texas Tech and BYU. Game 1 yesterday, that ended up in an 18-8 final score because BYU put up the 7th spot in the bottom of the 7th and then immediately put up 3, or excuse me, bottom of the 6th and then put up 3 in the bottom of the 7th. Those final 2 frames, 10 combined runs to end a game that was sitting at 8-8 in the 6th.
And nothing outside of highlight after highlight after highlight in that game. Different kind of entertainment value than what we saw in the second game, where it was seesawing late after first half of that ball game. Didn't see a run scored.
Yeah, great pitching to start yesterday's ball game, and then Utah really turned to the bullpen as a full bullpen outing. And then the runs started to go back and forth. That's what you're going to see in these elimination games, just single elimination in the tournament. Had 2 games yesterday, 2 games today to set up tomorrow's quarterfinal action. 4 games here from Surprise tomorrow. Each of these teams looking to punch their ticket into those corners, or those quarterfinals rather. And winner of this one will face the regular season champion Kansas Jayhawks. Winner of tonight's game will face West Virginia, number 2 seed in the tournament. Baylor did not play Kansas this season, while BYU lost 2 of 3 in Provo against the Jayhawks back earlier in the month. Clements down on the ground ball to short as Robinson takes care of business.
You'll see what Johnson can do here. He did a great job to come out of that bullpen in the second to get a strikeout to end the frame and allow some breathing room for the offense to get things rolling. Now working clean. Interesting to see how deep he goes. Well, I feel like BYU has all the momentum in the world, and they do after a 6-run top half. This is still a 1-run game. And with what Baylor has shown in the first 2 innings offensively, they've got something to say about those 6 runs.
Does feel a bit like the air has come out of the Baylor sails at the moment. Ethan Calder did his job to try and restore it a bit by coming in and striking out 2 straight batters to begin his 2nd relief appearance of the year. But now it's up to the bats in the middle of the order for the Bears to try and at least put up a bit of a fight here in the home half of the 3rd. Perez gets into this one, but underneath it a bit. Into center field goes Painter, and he'll track it down just shy of the warning track. 2 down.
A fastball that was up and in. He finds a way to poke it out. Last night we saw the ball get into that jet stream and really start to blow out of here. Seen the ball really truly carry yet in this ball game.
And wind blowing out to center field at the moment. That one might carry a little bit, but just underneath it is Buchanan. Hit it into the wind, but not nearly enough. Easily played by McChesney. It's the first 1-2-3 inning we've seen in this one. BYU leads by 1 after 3.
Old Trapper Beefs. Pack Smash.
My peanut butter and jelly. Ew.
Oh no.
Yeah, I guess my ham and cheese didn't make it.
Old Trapper. What's your beef?
Now that's a great view.
Yep.
Join me as I take a deep dive into the least insulted ticketing app in history, SeatGeek. Did SeatGeek invent the ticket?
No, but we do make them work.
Drum roll, please. Ooh, how do I use the Seat View feature?
It shows seats with a pole blocking the view. Don't buy those.
What if I want to sit behind a pole?
Buy those.
Join me as I bore you to death with a series of interviews about a ticketing app that just does what it's supposed to do.
We truly are a different league.
They have done it. A top 4 seed in the college football playoff.
The Horned Frogs leap their way to the College Cup. They're down. Omaha bound. Take cover. Can you believe it? Put that in the highlight
reel. BYU just flipped that script very quickly in that 3rd inning. They found a way to get 5 runs before an out was recorded. It started with the triple and then a big string of singles and balls that were not necessarily hit hard or rockets off the bat, but found their way into the outfield and showcasing much what we saw from them last night when they had 20 hits in an 18-run game. The victory for the BYU Cougars, trying to add to that 1-run lead now, Kyle.
Yeah, Trent Pratt has to be happy with how his team has responded as time has gone on, both in yesterday's ball game against Texas Tech, followed by this one against Baylor. BYU with 9-1-2 due up. Don't be fooled by the 9th spot in the order, though. Rich Erickson is probably the hottest bat in the tournament right now. 3 hits. They've all been absolutely crushed. A couple of line drive homers yesterday, and then another rope RBI single today. Came around to score in that 3rd inning. Seeing the ball quite well, and has barreled up really everything he's swung at so far. Even the deep fly ball yesterday that had a chance, but was tracked down deep into left. Ethan Calder out of the windup. This one again hit hard, but that's right at Sanders. 1 up, 1 down. 3 up, 3 down so far for Calder.
And I think what Baylor wants to see is some Just easy, quick outs from their pitching staff, just like what Davenport did the first 6 batters he faced. Faced the minimum. Found a way to miss barrels at BYU, but now he's got to patrol that top of the order.
Beautiful breaking ball to begin the at-bat against McChesney. Lucas Davenport, the starter for Baylor, threw over 35 pitches in that 3rd inning, trying to navigate through what was really tough from BYU. And then Calder has come in and struck out the final 2 hitters of that frame, and then now gets a line out to begin the 4th. How about that? That's 3 strikeouts and 4 batters now for Calder.
And that off speed starting to get dialed up from him, getting some good swing and miss. On the pitch, this thing just completely dives away from the lefty. It's a great pitch left on left. That was violent.
McChesney had no chance.
17 inches of horizontal break straight across.
Wow. First pitch swinging into right field. Back goes Janusek, right at the edge of the dirt. And he'll make the play to end the 4th. Calder has been effective so far. Can the Baylor Bats find their stroke again? Six to 5, BYU on top of Baylor in 2nd round. Big 12 tournament action from Surprise, Arizona. As we check in to the first base dugout and head coach Trent Pratt of the BYU Cougars. Coach, thanks for taking some time. It was a big win yesterday, but the Bats showing the same thing today, erasing a 5-run deficit. What's been the key for you guys to have success at the plate so far this week?
I think when teams made mistakes, we've done a good job of swinging at the right pitch the last couple days, and so hopefully we can continue that today.
As you guys have continued to get used to this conference, you have found a way to steadily improve your win total in conference play each year. As you continue to build this program, what has been some of the good foundational stuff that you've laid so far?
Man, I think we've done a really good job playing real good defense. And offensive, we've been pretty consistent. Now it's just, can we keep adding more pieces on the mound? I think that's kind of like, for us to keep taking another step, is just some more depth on the mound.
What have you seen out of Ashton Johnson so far in his relief appearance? He's Scholar Athlete of the Year. He's a pretty smart guy, right?
Yeah, he's brilliant. Neuroscience major, whatever that means. I don't know. But no, he's a strike thrower, and that's what we need right now. We just need someone to come in and make them put the ball in play and execute pitches, and he's done that for us for 2 years in a row.
Well, Coach, we appreciate you taking some time. Good luck the rest of the way.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
There he goes, Trent Pratt, head coach of the BYU Cougars, as this one's chopped to the right side, bobbled initially, and over to first, not in time. Ty Johnson beats out the throw. Tough play by Anderson. That should be error number 2 of the day for BYU.
This one just pops in and out, bobbled it a little bit. And quick challenge. Take a look. It was a close play over there at first base. even with that bobble, he did a nice job to stay with it and continue through the play. As the shortstop Robinson just kind of kicked that a little bit. That's close.
It is close from this side. We did see one yesterday that we thought probably should have been held up, and it got overturned. This one, I think right there, you're looking again. If you were watching last night's ball game late between Kansas State and Utah, one of the things umpires talk about is the buckle of the bag. It's hard to see there on first base, though, because they have the safety bag that's clad in green to the right of the fielder's bag that's in white. So it's really tough to see, but I don't know how you can overturn.
Oh, we were what, 1 for 2 on challenges yesterday?
I think we're going to get this one right. I think you can overturn. Excuse me, I don't think you can overturn this one. I think he's safe. What do you think?
I agree. We've not disagreed on a call yet.
That's good. It means you and I are on the same page.
For now at least.
I also want Coach Pratt to understand that we got him right, got him out of the interview at the perfect time to issue a challenge.
I've always thought about that. Like, oh, quick, hey, we're talking to the coach. You know, all right, now he wants to argue a call as we get this one.
And the call on the field is confirmed, so make it 2 for 3 on the week. But yeah, if you make the headset signal right, that's what they've all kind of gone to, where you flash the headset apparently. He's on a headset at that time, and then we would get an inside look at wanting to see a challenge or not. Missed it by about 20 seconds there.
And look, you get 2 challenges in college baseball, so you've almost no risk of using one this early. You see it a lot. Can't go home with them.
The error was on Robinson. Of course, the shift was on, so it's technically an E6, even though it was hit right toward the second base traditional side. Juan close at the plate. Laid down a sacrifice bunt. Back-to-back bunts in the 8 and 9 spots in the order. Started the small ball for Baylor. Tries to do so again here, but fouls it away. Baylor would go on to score the run that they were advancing, and then one more in the second inning to go up 5-0 before 6 unanswered by BYU. Johnson deals. There's a bunt, perfectly placed, spinning, throwing for the sacrifice bunt. Good job by Johnson to get the out, but Ty Johnson is on to second.
Again, Baylor doing what they've been doing all year from that bottom of the order, just trying to produce. Help them out in that second inning to plate 2. Of course, they were also the beneficiary of a struggle with the command from Waylon Crane. Now they get that error to scoring position, representing that tying run in this 4th.
Travis Sanders 0 for 1 with a walk and a run scored. Struck out back in the first inning to begin his weekend, as this one's into right field. Base hit. Green light around third for Johnson. Travis Sanders comes through, and this game is tied at 6.
Well, the good teams and the teams that win games and elimination opportunities take advantage of mistakes of their opponent. That's exactly what Baylor does here. Good piece of hitting to take a fastball up in the zone the other way. And despite holding a little bit to make sure it wasn't caught on a line, Johnson scores pretty easily from second base. That's a brand new ball game thanks to the error.
First unearned run we've seen from BYU, at least for Johnson anyways. Actually, it's the first unearned run of the ball game, because the only other error happened when Clements advanced from second to third on a double. And he did not come around to score. Armstrong takes a strike. 24 homers on the year. We've talked about it extensively already. He's walked twice in the game. BYU pitching, trying to keep it out of his wheelhouse. How do you attack some of these big boppers in the lineup for the Big 12 because there's 5 different guys that have at least 20 homers on the campaign.
Yeah, well, number one, you got to hope that there's no traffic on in front of them, and then you just simply have to attack. And they're not going to hit a home run every single time, although there for some spurts, and Tice is on one of those where he's hit 10 home runs in his last 12 games, but every guy has a hole somewhere, and you got to find it. Because if you try to be too fine and you let him and get you away from your strengths, that's when you make that mistake over the heart of the plate, and they make you pay for it.
It's been 3 years at UT Arlington. Had played against Baylor throughout his time with the Mavericks. Mitch Thompson said, I was just plain and simple tired of playing against him. Said, why don't we get you down to Waco, about an hour and a half south, and put you in the right side of the dugouts at the Baylor ballpark. And he has made history in his 1 year on the banks of the Brazos. Chopper to the left side, diving off the glove, it goes into shallow left field. From first to third goes Sanders. Baylor catching a bit of luck here in the fourth.
Yeah, starting to see some of those paper cuts that helped BYU score 6 runs in that third inning. This one, another one that just squeaks into the outfield. Good effort there by Jones. Robinson may have been able to corral it on a backhand, but no chance to get the runner out at first base with that. Now you really need a ground ball right at an infielder here for BYU. Andy Sek has been destroying baseballs in this game.
Yeah, he's hit it hard twice. Single and a double. A couple RBIs for the freshman. 2 for 2 in his collegiate postseason career now. True freshman. Out of Argyle, Texas. Played at Liberty Christian. Liberty Christian, hotbed for talent again in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex, but not just on the baseball field. How about on the football field? They've won a couple of TAP state championships led by future Hall of Fame tight end Jason Witten at Argyle Christian. There's a swing and a miss from Janusek, who does go down on 3 pitches. That's a big out for Ashton Johnson.
Yeah, it is. Now you can just attack Reebok any way you want. Get out of this, just giving up the lead, and only the unearned run comes in.
Reebok with that 2-run single in the first. Has the go-ahead run, just standing at third. Armstrong at first. Sanders is the runner at third. Another quick look over to first. Johnson's been very active, keeping both Sanders and Armstrong on their toes at the first base side. 1-0. Inside for a strike, good pitch.
And helped out by the umpire there too. It was a good couple inches in off the plate, but being around the strike zone helps you get those calls. Zone starts to expand a little bit if everybody's assuming that you're going to be around the strike zone.
Back into the screen, 1-2. Johnson came in, ended the second inning, and retired 4 straight. From the end of the second into the third. And an error, a sacrifice bunt, back-to-back singles, and a strikeout have us here. Swing and a miss, strike 3. Back-to-back Ks from Johnson keeps the game tied at 6.
This is fantastic work using the fastball up in the zone. All AB climbs the ladder a little bit further and strands runners at the corners to keep us tied.
90 degrees and sunny, not a cloud in the sky from Surprise Stadium in Arizona. Spring training home to the Texas Rangers, Kansas City Royals, one of the best venues for spring training baseball in the month of March, but now in the month of May, it's all about college baseball. Big 12 tournament action, first time without the tournament in either Texas or Oklahoma. Different places like Arlington, Oklahoma City, even Tulsa for 1 year have hosted Big 12 tournament. Now Surprise Arizona gets to put their name on the list. 29th ever Big 12 tournament. Baylor has won one. BYU has not. Of course, they are newer members to the Big 12. Baylor's lone Big 12 championship. How about 2018 in Oklahoma City at the Bricktown Ballpark? Bears were led by Steve Rodriguez. They defeated TCU. It was the 5 seed over the 6 seed in that 2018 tournament. A couple of big leaguers on that Baylor team. Cody Bradford, who pitched for the Texas Rangers during their World Series run back in 2023. And then Shea Langoliers, who's currently tearing it up for the Oakland A's in green and yellow. Did so in the green and gold initially. McNaughton flies out to left, one down for Ethan Calder here in the 5th.
It'll be interesting to see with this newer format going to the double bye for the top 6 seeds in the conference, to see if one of those deeper seeded teams can make a run. One of these teams that we've seen today, right? Get a number 8 seed Baylor, number 9 seed in BYU, or even the double-digit Kansas State seed that won yesterday, to keep their season alive.
So tough to see a team win 5 games in 5 days, especially with the pitching being stretched as much as it is over a tournament like this. That's the benefit of the regular season, though. It does put a little extra weight on those big regular season matchups. First time that the tournament has looked like this. And of course, Kansas putting together a regular season conference championship for the first time that their program has seen since 1949. Been a long time since the Jayhawks have had success like they have this year. As this goes right back up the middle and into center. Calder had to jump out of the way. It's the second hit of the day for Ryder Robinson.
That day after a career high in base hits with 4, he adds 2 more. The only time they got him out was when he line shot probably the hardest hit baseball that he's had today after that 102-mile-an-hour base hit. Going 105 right at the third baseman length loss earlier.
It ends a stretch of 6 straight retired by Calder. Pick move over to first.
Close.
It was close. Bit of hesitation by Robinson. Calder has an elite pickoff move over to first. That 45-degree angle that pitchers are taught about at the lefty side, he uses that to perfection. Goes again. Quick look over to second, too. Or over to the plate, I should say.
The best moves are the ones that are closest to a block.
Have to find a way to toe the line, right?
Some would say the best moves are a block. That just doesn't get called. Good spot.
Easton Jones at the plate, a couple of walks. The only BYU hitter that has reached on balls in today's matchup. Shows how active the bats have been for the Cougars. 7 hits on the day already. Now there's a quick move by Calder. It's been fun to watch. If you're a young left-handed pitcher, just watch Ethan Calder work a runner at first. That's a veteran that knows going into an at-bat what the plan is to try and keep a runner close.
And, oh, by the way, not forgetting what his day job is and throw strikes. Gets ahead 0-2 there.
Robinson is a threat on the base pass. 11 for 13 this year in stolen bases.
BYU is not a team that runs a ton, but they do have a couple of guys that pick spots very well. He's one of them.
Jones stays alive by fouling this one off. Each of Jones' walks were against the starter, Lucas Davenport's first time that he's seen Ethan Calder. And both of them were on the full count pitch as he works into it here.
And again, BYU, we touched on it with Davenport on the mound. It's been a little different with Calder with the 3 strikes, but just continuing to grind and then not being willing to just simply be put away.
Payoff pitch again to Jones. Outside, ball 4. 3 at-bats for Jones. 3 walks. The only 3 issued by Baylor pitching in this game. And they've all come on full counts.
Fantastic battle there. He was down 0-2 in the plate appearance. Took the first 2 of the at-bat in the zone, all off-speed pitches. Fouled off the only hard stuff he saw. Now it gets interesting as BYU trying to sniff that lead back.
First batter of the inning, McNaughton retired on that deep fly ball to Perez in left. And then the hard hit single followed by a walk. And fouled off. Franker Hertzman grounded into a double play and then had that sac fly to bring in a run. BYU 4 for 6 with runners in scoring position at the moment. Robinson back there again. That one will make it 5 for 7. Picked up by Perez. The runner around third. To the plate he goes. BYU back on top.
It's felt like this entire tournament, BYU, when they have any bit of life, they maximize how much they can capitalize on the opportunity, and they just continue to come through. Big spots, they've been able to slow the heart rate, simplify things, and just do the job. And a way to put the next guy in an opportunity to succeed. And then the guy after you. It's been impressive to watch how contagious their hitting has been.
Yeah, hitting .714 with runners in scoring position over the course of half of a ball game is pretty impressive, no matter how you shake it. Now it's up to Calder to try and limit the damage. Thing about BYU too, it's the hitting is contagious cliche that you hear. It's all bunched together. They don't really waste it in those opportunities by scattering it out here or there. It's really all clumped together, just hit after hit or base runner after base runner. That's how they've put up big numbers so quickly.
And they did it a little bit more with the extra base hit in yesterday's game, but today it's been the single. The only 2 extra base hits for them were really played into that. The triple that was missed and left on a chance to a ball that could have been caught. And then a bouncing ball the other way that just went through the third baseman and ultimately ruled a double.
Hansen caught looking, didn't like the call. It was on the outside half, says the home plate umpire, Scott Latindry.
Yeah, it was a correct call. Absolutely perfectly painted on that black on the outside corner. out there with the slider. Hansen wasn't expecting it, and big second out. Calder tries to reset here in this 5th inning.
That brings up Keone Painter. Painter 0 for 1, was hit by a pitch. He then worked around to score in that 6-run stint for BYU. In the middle of the 3rd inning, struck out his last time up. That one just on the inside corner, or just missing off the inside edge. Painter followed by Erickson. Baylor infield, shaded to the right, not a true shift, but very close to it. You have Reebok playing almost on the lip of the dirt into the grass. Actually, he's in the grass now, shaded away from the second base bag. There you see it. And Sanders having to hold the runner on at second. Back behind Jones. That went in on the hands, but it'll loft into left field. Diving on is Perez. He can't get there. It's 1 run across. The cutoff man will stop the second one, but BYU doubles their lead. It's 8-6.
This is another one that's not necessarily well struck, just 83 off the bat, but lobbed perfectly just out of the reach of Perez, who's playing very deep in left field. BYU comes up advantageous again, inside out. Jammed him, and full out stretch from Perez, not enough length to make that play.
Perez comes up with that play. It would be Sports Center-esque, and it saves a run. And it saves this opportunity. How about Rich Erickson with another RBI chance? After the day he had yesterday and an RBI single today, he's got 2 in scoring position. BYU with 26 runs in their first 12 innings of Big 12 tournament action so far. 18 yesterday in a 7-inning win over Texas Tech. 8 in the first 5 frames today against Baylor.
And they're pretty much exactly on pace to match those totals. Almost halfway through this ball game. 1 shy of halfway to their run output, 1 shy of halfway to their base hit number.
Big swing comes up empty for Erickson, 2-2. Just to add to that, they were sitting at 8 runs in the 5th inning yesterday before they struck for 7 in the 6th and then 3 more in the 7th. There you see Calder having to work a little bit more, actually quite a bit more in this inning. Pitch number 31 misses outside.
Got a lefty up and tossing out there in their bullpen. Top of the order is on deck, and McChesney.
It's R.J. Rue, one of their setup men in the bullpen for Baylor, as this misses low. Bases loaded for the top of the BYU order.
Yeah, big chance to really blow this game open. Crew McChesney, who's such a great tone setter atop that BYU order. Chance to bear the fruit that the rest of his lineup has laid for him. Eighth batter of this inning, and it's now twice in the last 3 frames that they've brought at least 8 men to the plate.
Again, it's a pitching coach, Sean Schnedeker, out of that third base dugout. Rue has been very solid out of the pen for Baylor as a left-hander in some tight situations like this. Have to wonder, maybe this is just enough to try and get him hot. Either way, bases loaded. Calder has come in and slowed BYU bats down a little up until this final point. where 2 runs have been across. An RBI single from Herdsman and another from Painter. That's the difference in the ball game. Could be more as McChesney steps in. Hitless yesterday, 0 for 5.
You got to think he's gripping the bat tight, wanting to get in on the parade.
Just off the end of the bat. Pull shot down the third base line.
Calder was able to get him swinging his last time. The time they've matched up so far.
There's a hefty swing too.
He's when he climbed the ladder with a fastball to get him.
Made quick work of him as well in that 4th inning. Can he do so again? Leave the bases loaded. Herdsman at third, Painter at second, Erickson at first. Calder readies again. Called strike 3 on the lower half. Calder gets out of the jam, but BYU retakes the lead here in the 5th.
When you're around the zone with enough consistency, you get a couple inches below the knees. And a perfect moment for the Bears to get just that.
On to the home half of the 5th inning. Baylor trailing by 2 as we talked to head coach Mitch Thompson in the third base dugout. Coach, your thoughts so far through the first half of this one in an elimination game?
Well, love the way we came out of the chute, and you know, we knew BYU'd come right back at us and fight us all day long, and that's what they're doing offensively. So it's going to be a good ball game. It's going to go down to the end, I think.
You guys have such a good young core that has developed well. What makes you so happy about what your group has done this year and where they position themselves for the future?
Yeah, we do. We've got a lot of young players that are competing pretty hard for us, and you know, we're looking forward to their futures, and they've got a lot of experience this year and battled pretty hard against a really good schedule, and so every day is a new experience, and they're handling it pretty well.
And kind of on the other side of that, you have some veterans that continue to come in and make an impact. In a tournament like this, you need some veteran leadership. How much has that meshed with that youth that you've been able to put together on the roster?
A lot. I mean, you know, at the top of our lineup are 2 guys, Travis Sanders and Tice Armstrong. I mean, they've been outstanding all year. They're great, you know, great competitors, great teammates, and they've been huge. And then on the staff, you see Ethan Calder out there competing his tail off. So you got to have some of those guys too, no doubt. They've done a great job for us.
In a single elimination structure, and we've already seen the ups and downs of one game in this one, did you talk to your team about, or what are the expectations on how to handle the mental ups and downs and the emotions of an elimination game like this?
No, it's one day. It's win today. That's what it is. And if you don't do it, you don't get to play anymore. So that's just the way it is, you know. You know, baseball's really not a single elimination sport, but it's also not an 8-team or 12-team double elimination sport either. You can't do that. So I think this is a good setup. I think we're going to maximize how many teams we can get to an NCAA regional. I think it gives our teams who have performed well during the regular season, an opportunity to be ready to go in the regionals, and it gives the rest of us the opportunities to try and get into one. So, you know, I think it's good.
Coach, thanks so much for taking some time. Good luck the rest of the way.
Appreciate y'all. Thank you. Sick 'em.
Mitch Thompson, fourth-year head coach with the Baylor Bears. He's done a nice job of building this program. He was, as we mentioned earlier, an assistant for Baylor for quite some time, and made the jump to a head coaching position, but at the junior college level at a junior college in Waco, Clinic Community College. It's about 2.5 miles down the road from Baylor. Won a national championship in 2021 with the Highlanders, and from that point forward just kind of built his resume, built his network ability, and then when the Baylor job came open, he was an obvious choice. And they've steadily improved as time has gone on under Thompson's tutelage.
BYU wants a couple inches that Baylor got that last inning. It was a ball, but within that buffer zone of what we've seen so far today.
Yeah, you could hear the audible reaction by BYU. They'll get the call there. Perez caught looking, 2 down in the frame. Clements lined into an out with Anderson shaded toward the middle of the infield. Perez can't put it in play.
Look, as frustrated as he was not going to be denied. It perfectly pops that one in that strike zone. And Perez not enough to make an adjustment there, and back-to-back pitches in that same spot, just frozen looking at it.
There's Braden Buchanan. 0 for 1 with a walk and a fly out. Trying to piece together something for the Baylor bats to respond against Ashton Johnston, who's been really good out of the pen for the Cougars.
Because of that, strike 1 and strike 2.
He's been uber efficient. He's been getting ahead of hitters. BYU's gotten everything they've needed out of the Big 12 Scholar Athlete of the Year and more. Kicks and deals here. 3 pitches. Sets down Buchanan. 5 straight retired. 4 via the strikeout for Ashton Johnston. We are through 5 in surprise. 2-run lead for BYU.
Being on a path trying to go to the Olympics, your life revolves around your training and making yourself better. The KRT Athletic Muscle Cream definitely makes me more confident and makes me want to go further. I started using their cream and my hamstring issues started going away. And so I use it before training, I use it after training. I am religious about this stuff. I want to be an Olympian, but I don't just want to go to the Olympics, I want to win a medal.
Hell of a good.
Seriously? No hell of a good dip?
Whoa, creamy. A double dip. Where's Jill?
Hell of a good.
It's not a party without hell of a good.
Hell of a good.
Hello?
We truly are a different league.
They have done it. A top 4 seed in the college football playoff.
The Horned Frogs leap their way to the College Cup. Bear down. Omaha bound. Let's take cover. Can you believe it? Put that on the highlight reel. National champions.
5 innings in the books. Game 3 of the 2026 Big 12 Baseball Tournament, presented by Allstate. Alongside Alex Coyle, I'm Kyle Yeomans. Delighted you've joined us, whether you're in the Mountain Time Zone here in Arizona or back in Central Time. One of those Baylor fans in Waco. Staying up and watching this one past the 8 o'clock time in the Central Time Zone. BYU has 2, 3, and 4 due up in their order. Anderson, McNaughton, and Robinson.
How about the work of Calder to be able to fight through that 5th inning? Limited damage and a massive strikeout after a mound visit where it looked like an opportunity to maybe go to the bullpen again. And he's earned himself another look out there in the 6th inning to try to chuck and tuck and get an out.
Wow. How about that line drive to Anderson? Talk about the right scouting report from the Baylor defense. Pearson Reebok was in the right spot. If not, that's easily a single.
Yeah, change up, and you can't square a baseball up much better than that. My goodness. In batting practice, it's right off the L screen, and the coaching staff's like, yep, that's exactly what we want.
And a Baylor pitcher and Ethan Calder had to get out of the way. That one buzzing the tower. This one's up in the air and out of play. 0-2 to McNaughton. Had the 2-run single back in the 3rd, then came around to score in that 6-run inning for the Cougars. He was the leadoff hitter in the last inning where BYU put up a couple of runs themselves. Middle of the order has been where a lot of damage has been done for BYU. Called strike 3, won't happen here as McNaughton is caught looking. Last 3 strikeout victims for Ethan Calder have all been of the looking variety.
Yeah, and his pitches must be moving very late on their approach to the plate. And give credit to Buchanan as well for his framing, because that's another pitch that he stole. It's out of the strike zone. It's inside and a bit low, and he frames it perfectly to get that call. It's great catching. And a piece of the position that is slowly dying because of what you see the professional ranks and now at the big leagues with the ABS system. And you know, if you steal a strike like that, all the hitter has to do is tap his helmet to get the call correct.
You say that it's dwindling there a little bit, but it's still an artwork because you can force a challenge on a pitch that is close and is there, and a pitcher or a catcher, or excuse me, a hitter may not really see it the same way. So this one's into the deepest part of the yard, but easily there is Johnson. 3 up, 3 down work for Ethan Calder. Good bounce back frame for the Baylor veteran on the bump. It's a 2-run game. Going to the bottom of the 6th. This is the 2026 Big 12 Baseball Tournament presented by Allstate on ESPN. Alongside Alex Coyle, I'm Kyle Yeomans. It's 8-6 BYU over Baylor in the 2nd round. Game 1 of 2 on the day. Game 3 of 11 on the tournament. Still a long way to go to decide a Big 12 champion and an automatic bid into the NCAA regionals. Both of these teams would love the automatic bid. BYU on the outside looking in, RPI number 76. Baylor was right in the conversation as an at-large bid until the final few weeks of the regular season saw that dip a little bit. Their RPI went from in the low 30s to 69 overall, but a team that certainly could deserve to be in the tournament. Here's a look at their tournament resume. RPI 39. And that tough schedule really helps with it. Number 20, toughest schedule in the nation. They've done a good job with it. Pop fly retires. Ty Johnson, one down here in the 6th.
Ashton Johnson has been pretty fantastic for them. He came in with runners at first and second and 2 outs in the second inning. Got a strikeout to calm things down. That set the tone for a 6-run top of the 3rd for BYU. And since then, he's allowed just 100 run. Outside of that, just 2 consecutive singles, of course, in that 4th inning. And strikeout's been there. He's retired 6 straight now.
Well, Longclose stepping in. He's had a couple of sacrifice bunts in the game. No chance to do that here. You could see Johnson attacking right at him, and that's what he's done. He hasn't been afraid of shying away at Baylor bats, and he's really done a nice job of settling in, especially as of late. 2 strikeouts in each of the last few innings. Tired the first 4 batters he faced and is on a streak at the moment of 6 straight retired. Nearly all the production from the Baylor lineup has come in the middle of the order. Top to middle, that is. Starting with Sanders and Armstrong at the top. Of course, Sanders on deck. Longclose fouls this away. Here we go. 3-2 pitch called, strike 3. Longclose fooled. And there's 6 strikeouts on the day for Johnson.
Yeah, perfectly spotted right at the knees. It is in that strike zone. And he avoids walking his first batter of the game. It's a good spot. See, he crosses those knees. Definitely in there. Always nice to retire the first 2 when the top of the order looms. Face them with nobody on.
A swing and a miss from Sanders. Like you said, nobody on. He has an RBI single to his total and a strikeout. Remember, these 2 teams met back in April out in Waco. Magnolia Field at Baylor Ballpark. Baylor took game 1, 12-5. High-scoring affair in that one. And then BYU returned the favor with a 10-4 win on Friday before a Saturday Baylor win. Won the series for the Bears and ultimately was the reason they earned a bye in this year's Big 12 tournament after both teams finished 14 and 16 in conference play. Baylor has won 5 of 6 since BYU made the jump to the Big 12. And they've won 6 of the 8 meetings all time, but it's the Cougars leading here. 2-1. Good take by Sanders.
And as Johnson has given them nearly 60 pitches so far, still nobody throwing in that BYU bullpen. Just working with a 2-run lead.
Sanders with a worm burner to short, and it eats up Robinson. That's a tough one for BYU because it brings the tying run to the plate, and it's one of the highest home run totals in the Big 12. Tice Armstrong coming up.
Yeah, couldn't tell if Robinson waited far enough back on that to where it hits the lip of the outfield grass. No, he just came up. He didn't stay down on that baseball that was hit while on a couple of hops over 100 miles an hour. It's a gift. Third error of the game.
You talked about the way that Johnson has really come in and battled throughout this game. Currently 4 innings of work, just 2 hits allowed, 1 run. It was unearned. But these are 2 dangerous bats in Sanders and Armstrong. They can make you pay with 1 swing. Trying to avoid that and push this thing to the 7th. Just outside. Johnson has gone more than 4 innings a number of times, including his most recent outing against Kansas. That finale against the regular season champion Jayhawks. He went 4 innings in that game against Kansas. Armstrong into the wide open hole on the right side of the infield. Sanders will easily trot from first to third. Baylor threatening. Tying run is aboard.
Yeah, well, a guy that set the Baylor program record for home runs. It's a laced base hit in the scorebook, but just 56 miles an hour. Jam shot cue to beat the shift. It's got to be so frustrating as a pitcher to do your job to perfection against a big-time game-tying power threat. And you're going to face Janusek with 2 on.
Swings at the first pitch and pops it foul. We'll see if the last at-bat was the exception, not the rule, for the freshman Janusek, who came in and roped the double in his first at-bat. First pitch he saw. Then on a 1-2 count, he drove in a couple of runs with a 2-run single in the second, and then struck out on 3 pitches in his only time against Johnson. Now he's down 0-2. Sanders at third, Armstrong at first. Every run from here on out would be unearned for Johnson. Johnson steps off the mound and has to look Sanders back as he took an extra lead from third. And now Janusek deep in the left field gives this one a ride. It's the fab freshman that gives Baylor a 1-run lead. Welcome to the Big 12 postseason, Mr. Janusek.
My goodness. That is just raw power from the freshman. And bad luck for BYU's Ashton Johnson. Error, 56-mile-an-hour base hit. And then he just hangs one hard of the plate with 2 strikes. And the deepest part of the ballpark gets a souvenir. Gotta love the emotion.
They've been calling it the Fountain of Youth on the banks of the Brazos River for Baylor baseball this year. And you can see just how high he jumped in between first and second to celebrate that moment. The youth making an impact, but it was the veterans that set the table. Sanders hits the ball hard in play, an error at shortstop, and then the bluffs that he had from third, it made an impact there. May not have caused a balk or any sort of craziness from Johnson, but you could tell Johnson stepped off initially.
Had to think about him, yeah.
And he was in the head of a reliever that's been incredible up to this point out of the pen for the Cougars.
There's a big-time clutch swing.
And back and forth we go again.
The offense had hit a lull and was just kind of through a malaise of trying to put together a good plate appearance. All of a sudden, an arrow wakes you up a little bit. You get lucky with a base hit.
He's got a fan out there looking for the home run ball, too. Got the shirt on the back and everything. Name on the back of the shirt, that is. Full count to Pearson Reebok here. That one again, fouled straight back. Reebok sticking around in this at bat as Johnson goes over 70 pitches. Last time that Johnson hit the 70 pitch mark was against Baylor back on April 4th. Part of that finale, a 3-1 loss for BYU. Now Reebok skies one into center. Overranges Painter, and the side is retired. But it was the freshman Brady Janusek with 3 legs of the cycle down, 3 runs on the board here.
Doing what he's been doing all season. The Baylor freshman home run record adds another to it to give him the lead.
Old Trapper Beefs. Pack Smash.
My peanut butter and jelly. Ew.
Oh no. Yeah, I guess my ham and cheese didn't make it.
Old Trapper, what's your beef?
Now that's a great view.
Yep. Join me as I take a deep dive into the least insulted ticketing app in history, SeatGeek. Did SeatGeek invent the ticket?
No, but we do make them work.
Drum roll, please. Ooh, how do I use the seat view feature?
It shows seats with a pole blocking the view. Don't buy those.
What if I want to sit behind a pole?
Buy those.
Join me as I bore you to death with a series of interviews about a ticketing app that just does what it's supposed to do.
We truly are a different league.
They have done it. A top 4 seed in the college football playoff.
The Horned Frogs leap their way to the College Cup. Bear down. Omaha bound. Bulldogs take cover. Can you believe it? Look down on the highlight reel. National champions.
Back and forth we go. Baylor jumped out to a 5-0 lead before BYU put up a 6 spot in the 3rd inning to take a 1-run advantage. And then since then, it's been back and forth. Baylor tying the game at 6. BYU jumped out with 2 more runs in the 5th inning, and then a 3-run homer by Brady Janusek, who has a homer, a double, and a single in his first ever collegiate postseason appearance. Freshman has Baylor on top by 1. Ethan Calder still on the hill for the Bears. He'll face Jones, Herdsman, and Hansen. 5, 6, and 7 in the order. And now if you're Calder, Alex, how do you handle this scenario? You've got a lead back. You kind of settle back in, but you're also starting to see your pitch count start to elevate.
Yeah, I think it's going to be all him until he finds himself in trouble again. They've got a lefty ready just in case at any moment out there and left, but he's shown the ability. He gets this out now, 4 innings of 2-run ball.
High pop up to Armstrong in foul ground. He takes care of business to retire Jones. That was one thing Mitch Thompson did tell us pregame about playing here in Surprise. He said the tall sky. What does he mean by that? How does it play that way here in the Valley of the Sun?
Yeah, look, very rarely are there any clouds. Obviously, that air is so dry, but also in the added elevation, how dry the air is too. high cloud ceiling if there is any, and it's just a depth perception thing. You hear big leaguers at the start of spring training talk about it a ton as the adjustment that it takes. Because normally on a pop fly in the Midwest and in Texas especially, you have a depth perception perceived from just what the sky gives you. And ball can really get up there here in Phoenix and here in the Valley of the Sun, and becomes harder to read, especially with spin.
You think that bodes well for the teams that'll see action later in the week, like Arizona State, for that matter?
Sure. I think the more you play in it, the better you get used to it, of course.
There's a big swing and a miss on the breaking ball, blocked up by Buchanan. He takes the outside lane to first, 2 down in the inning. 7 strikeouts now for Ethan Calder. What about teams coming from elevation like BYU?
Yeah, I'm sure there's a little bit of that in Utah as well, for what they play with. And look, you know, there might be some people sitting at home, oh, you're over talking this, you're overselling it. But like, it's not nothing. It's an adjustment that you have to make in a different environment. Just similarly to where if this were played at Globe Life, you got to get used to seeing balls against the ceiling.
Yeah.
Right?
And when you don't get a chance to play in the facility or practice in the facility at all, your first opportunity is on that high pop-up like Armstrong saw there.
Well, you hear it in college basketball tournaments with the depth perception of shooting in it, whether it be an NBA arena or one of the indoor NFL stadiums during the Final Four.
This one runs inside and hits Hansen. He'll walk down the first. And the last thing I'll say on it is we talked to Mitch Thompson for maybe 5 minutes pregame. That's all we had today. We got to talk to him earlier in the week, but the 5 minutes that he talked about today, that was one of the first things he brought up.
Yep.
So it does play a factor, and it is something these coaches have to think about, especially in their first game like Baylor has had. BYU's played in it once. Played in this facility, been in this ballpark. Something to adjust to. There's a called strike. Keone Painter, 1 for 2 so far. He was also hit by a pitch, just as Hansen was. And the RBI double back in the 5th inning. Another extra base hit for BYU. They had 12 today, 12 yesterday, just 3 today. So only 15 over the first 2 games of the tournament. Not a big deal, right? That's a huge deal. It's 15 extra base hits as Painter comes up empty. Calder with 8 strikeouts in his relief appearance. And he puts up a goose egg in the 7th, keeping Baylor on top into the 7th inning stretch. Just take a look at that box score. Looks like the mountain ranges that are beyond the horizon here in Surprise, Arizona. Up and down we go. BYU and Baylor, just one run separating these two Big 12 foes. 5, 6, and 7 due up in the bottom of the 7th for Baylor, as BYU's down to their final 6 outs. Ethan Calder on the Baylor side. Second relief appearance of the year, has been just incredible. What an effort by him to keep the Bears within striking distance. And then Ashton Johnson, right now he would be tabbed as the losing pitcher, but he's part of the storyline too. Only arm out of the bullpen for BYU, and he's been incredible. Now 75 pitches into this outing.
No earned runs, right? If he gets some help from his defense, they'd still have that lead. An error with 2 outs in the last inning before the single and home run to put Baylor in front. Error earlier to start an inning. That's the only other run he's allowed. It's been impressive attacking the strike zone, getting some weaker contact. And again, his job here, just find a way to keep it a 1-run game. We know how potent that BYU offense is.
Breaking ball does find the zone. He has yet to walk a batter. 6 strikeouts, 4 hits, 4 runs. As you mentioned, all 4 of those runs were unearned. 3 of which on one swing of the bat to the freshman Brady Janusay. Now this one's hit hard through the middle of the infield. Bryson Clements with his second of the year, or excuse me, second of the day.
And we'll see with the bottom half of the order now up if they go back to that small ball. It might even get a pinch runner here too. Pinch hit, I guess, off the bench.
Now Bryson Clements over at first, he can run it a little bit. So maybe that is the thought process. And they're going to bring up Caleb Bergman, another senior here. And a pinch hit opportunity for Dylan Perez.
Yeah, Bergman struggled this season, just a 176 hitter on the year, but they used him a lot off the bench. Only 4 starts this season. This will be his 17th total appearance this year. And trying to find a way to make some contact and pad this lead.
Has 3 RBIs on the year. Squares to lay down a bunt. Did not go around as he pulls back.
Does have 1 sacrifice bunt on the season.
What do you think the thought process is there? Pinch hitting, using that roster spot to set up a sack bunt scenario, as he does lay one down the first base line. It's perfectly, maybe that's the thinking. How about that?
Oh my, they called him out.
And that'll be overturned, I'm sure. Unless they said he's out of the baseline or it's one of those elements. He did have to go around the tag.
But remember this. First base is the only bag where you have to go to the restraints of an actual base path. And he made the adjustment to run into that base path. Now he does get a little wider here. And part of it is a tough angle from Mike Morris, shielded by the body of the BYU player covering the base. Couldn't see that.
Maybe the thought is he never hit the bag. He never, I mean, that's about as clear of a call as I've ever seen. And if that's the case, maybe the thought is that the foot was in front of the green base and he never actually made contact with the base. I don't know. I'm searching for answers there. This is where the challenges will help college baseball. Could you imagine not having a chance to challenge that? Yeah, clearly touched the base.
That should be fairly open and shut.
I'm not even going to lie to you, Alex. I wasn't even looking at the umpire as that call was made. What a job on the bunt from the senior Caleb Bergman. So here's the call officially. And that is the case. Overturned call. And Mitch Thompson knew it the whole way.
Now they're going to use an offensive timeout here to discuss things, and with that, BYU going to have a mound visit out of it. Now you got two guys on, and Buchanan, the catcher, they're definitely going to try something. This is going to be really interesting because what is BYU going to answer with defensively? Because two guys on, you can double steal when a guy squares around, especially if the corner infielder, the third baseman, is going to charge, get him out of position, pull back the bunt, and that works as your sacrifice. You can put a wheel play on if you're BYU. It's a really interesting chess match here late in this game as to what BYU and what Baylor's going to do at the bottom third of their order up at the plate.
Now, for those that are tuning in and maybe don't have the intricacies of what a wheel play is, take us through that as both teams meet.
Yeah, essentially, and BYU might be going to the bullpen here, but you charge from your third baseman to open up that spot, but your shortstop has to win a race to third. And essentially, your third baseman has to field the bunt, throw to third to try to get that out there, just to try to steal something and steal it out.
And they are going to take the ball. It seems like from Ashton Johnson, he's still on the mound as there is a reliever coming out of the bullpen.
Yeah, he did point out there, so they are going to make that change.
Nine to 8, Baylor on top and threatening for more. Couple men on for the Bears here in the bottom of the seventh. The senior Ashton Johnson, who was fantastic out of the pen, hands the ball to a fellow senior, Garrison Sumner, on for BYU. Those 14 appearances this year. Only 5 have been out of the bullpen, this being number 5. Mostly a starter on Friday for BYU throughout the year.
A big-time strikeout guy, 81 of those in 64 and a third innings pitched. Comes in with 2 insurance runners aboard for Baylor with their bottom third of the order due up at the plate. It's the catcher Buchanan, his spot in the lineup, that will come to the plate. He does have 1 sacrifice bunt so far this season. With 2 on and nobody out, we'll see what they do to put some pressure on the BYU defense.
And runner at second is Brighton Clements. Runner at first is Caleb Bergman. Baylor called an offensive timeout just to chat things through after an infield bunt single, put 2 men on with no outs, and now it's Braden Buchanan to the dish. First batter will be up against Garrison Sumner in this one. Buchanan 0 for 2, strikeout and a fly out. And it looks like we will get a pinch runner on to second for Clements. That is Bo Carraway now standing at the bag. Caraway makes the switch for Clemens. 2 on, no outs. Buchanan lays down a bunt. Good throw from behind the dish by Erickson. 2 in scoring position for the Bears.
Yeah, just good execution all around there. Getting the baseball as much as you can. Make sure that it's not close enough for anybody to even think about throwing to third base. Now you can tack on with a couple and just simply get the ball in the air with the infield in.
Last time Baylor led by more than 1 was in the early innings after they had a 5-3 lead. That'll no longer be the case. Sacrifice fly into left center. Scores Caraway from third. Baylor first 1 to 10 here in this Big 12 second round matchup.
Yeah, just textbook baseball from the Baylor Bears from what they've done this season. Get them on, get them over with a bunt, get them in with a sacrifice fly. Now some insurance and some breathing room for the bullpen that has the right-hander throwing.
So now it's Longclose and then back to the top of the order. Still a runner in scoring position. Inside it runs. And it hits Longclose. He'll go down to first with the hit by pitch.
Now that sets up danger with the top of the order coming in. And time chance.
We've already seen Sanders have success. Tice Armstrong has yet to be retired. He's on deck now. Following him, then it's Brady Janusek, who's a triple away from the cycle and has already driven in 5 runs on the game. Half of the production has come from his bat. This is a dangerous spot for BYU. Things could get out of hand quickly. Crucial moment for Sumner on the bump.
Baylor, a team that has been so good this season when leading late. 24-2 when leading after 7. They've added to that advantage.
Part of that number is just how solid the back end of their bullpen has been. Guys like R.J. Rouet, who was up and warming earlier, hasn't had to come in yet. He's available. I think Caleb Bunch was an all Big 12 closer for the Bears. One of the league leaders in saves. He has 7 on the year. And he's been one of the best closers in the league. So we talked about the outing for Ethan Calder and the way that he's fought through and allowed for his offense to catch stride in these last few innings. That could really pay off as Baylor goes right back into a big spot here. Sanders comes up empty. 2 balls, 2 strikes.
It's a really interesting decision for Mitch Thompson if he lets Calder go out there for another. Because I'm sure there's nothing he'd love more than Calder to finish this game and save all of those bullpen bullets for the weekend portion of this tournament.
This was down the left field line, past the diving Jones, into left. 1 run across. Here comes a second. Travis Sanders plates a pair in the 7th.
And I think that makes the decision a lot easier. As long as you have not told Calder that your day is done, you're just running back out there. You got a massive lead. And if he runs into trouble, then you can go to the bullpen bullets. Now this offense and that top of the order has been clutch all day. The top 3 has been retired just 2 times in this game.
And now Tice Armstrong steps in. Armstrong, a couple of walks to start, a couple of singles since then. 2 for 2 in his 4 plate appearances so far. Jumped out of the way of that one, but it does clip the inside half.
Armstrong, his last time, had the one off of his fists that he just placed into right, 56 miles an hour off the bat, and it set up Janusek to give them the lead with that 3-run home run last inning.
Armstrong made history. His first game as a Baylor Bear. 3 grand slams in 1 game. Second player in NCAA history to do so. Only other one was Louisville's Jim LaFountain back in 1976. That's one way to make a first impression. As this one gets away from Erickson, on to third goes Sanders.
Erickson thought that one was everywhere but where the ball was down that first base line.
That's such a tough read for a catcher at times. You got the big body of Armstrong standing in there at 6'4", 230. You just want him to get out of the way. Baylor with a dozen runs on the board off of 11 hits. Armstrong reaches out, pokes this one into foul ground. Look at that number, 10 for 14 with runners on. We were talking about BYU's efficiency with runners in scoring position. They're still 6 for 10. It's been incredible on both ends. Good take by Armstrong to run the count full.
And a nice stop from Erickson. It's a 5th run, very much could be a dagger.
It'll be the second time Baylor has led by more than, or at least 5. Took a 5-0 lead to begin the game. Check swing, left side, tough play by Jones. He charges on, throws it in the dirt, and mishandled by McNaughton at first. Sanders scores from third. Baylor back up by 5.
Yeah, the ability to continue adding on is really going to work and help out that pitch mapping for the Baylor Bears heading into tomorrow, assuming they can get 6 outs and close out this game. And every single run makes them much more comfortable. That is the 4th error on a BYU Cougar in this game.
And here is Brady Janusek. His last swing put Baylor on top. A 3-run homer in the 6th inning. Took an 8-6 deficit and turned it into a 9-8 lead. His first ever college postseason. First ever game. He's had a double, a single with 2 runs, and a 3-run homer. 1-0. Was fooled on that one. Just talked about the first impression for Tyce Armstrong with the 3 grand slams in 1 game. What would it be if a freshman in his first postseason game makes a first impression and hits for a cycle?
Seen all kinds of triples this week.
This ballpark has played big. Those alleyways are tough to play. It can happen. He'll have to do so with 2 strikes here. Texas Tech has a team hit for the cycle in an inning. D. Kennedy was 1 hit away from 1 as well. And it won't happen here for Janusek as he's retired on strikes. Does not spoil what he's done in this game and what the Baylor Bats have done. 13 runs on the board for Baylor. They're back up by 5 as we go to the 8th. How about the day that Ethan Calder put together on the bump, as now Baylor goes to the bullpen, but not before Calder went through some ups and downs and finished with 8 strikeouts.
Yeah, he was really, really good. The command was great. The off-speed stuff was really good. And then he was around the zone so much, he started to get that zone to expand a little bit. Got some help with some calls from the umpire and worked to allow the offense an opportunity to come back and grab a lead and then balloon it to the 5-run advantage they have now.
And now Mitch Thompson hands the ball to their go-to man out of the bullpen. Caleb Bunch has been fantastic throughout the season. Take a look at the numbers. Now 22 appearances, sub 3.3 ERA, and they've used him quite a bit, but there's a reason why. He's been their shutdown man, and they're hoping to do so here with a 5-run lead.
Yeah, and the part of it is they already got him hot in the bullpen, and you know, you already done the work. You might as well get him in the game. If you weren't going to go back to Calder, you didn't want to get anybody else up and loose. So might as well go to this guy after a couple 2-out runs and just keep him here.
How about the season high 8 strikeouts there by Ethan Calder? Last time he had more than 5 in a game was back in March against Oklahoma State. Picked a good time for his best outing of the year.
And that's what college sports are all about, right? The senior pitching against the elimination of his collegiate career at a school that he adores. It's been all a part of his life since he was born, and a performance for the ages to keep his team alive and likely to fight another day to tomorrow if they can get 6 outs here.
I think you'll really enjoy watching Caleb Bunch throw in person for the first time. And this is a guy that doesn't necessarily have your traditional closer stuff here, Alex, but he does have a number of ways to get outs. And here's one of them. On the ground ball, left side, long close, charges forward to make the play.
It's been one of the differences in this game. The defense of Baylor has played really well. 4 errors on the BYU side. They've taken advantage, scoring runs on 3 of them, and Baylor's just played really well. They've turned double plays. They've avoided BYU taking extra bases. They've caught really well with Buchanan. It's those little things in single elimination tournaments that give you those advantages.
Again, we talked about it earlier, those free passes and or free bases. Can't give those up. Most of the time, if you win that battle as a team, you're going to win the ball game, no matter what the power numbers, the pitching numbers look like. If you can avoid the walks, the errors, the hit by pitches. That's what Baylor has done when they've played their best baseball. They've limited those numbers, and they've done so in the final few innings here. Still a long way to go. BYU with 5 outs can still be very dangerous. You saw what they did over the course of really 3 outs yesterday, putting together a total of 10 runs in the final 2 innings, and they could very much so do that again.
6-run third to go down 5-0 and take a lead.
The 1-2 Bunch has a little bit more to play with here. 5-2 record, transfer from Northwestern State. Originally from Keller, Texas, just north of Fort Worth. Oh, and the changeup had McChesney spinning in circles. 3rd time he's been retired on strikes tonight.
Now the strikeout pitch is starting to work for Baylor. That's their 10th K of this game. They've had one in every inning since that 6-run third for BYU. And no chance.
First pitch misses outside to Luke Anderson. Anderson has been quiet since his RBI double in the 3rd. That 3rd inning was such an offensive explosion by BYU. Felt like everybody was involved in that one.
Every single guy had a productive plate appearance.
That one skied out of play. Sun starting to set here in the Valley of the Sun. Game 1 of 2 on the day. There is one more to follow. A couple of teams that'll have some fan bases staying up late tonight. Kansas State and TCU. Start time officially, except for that 8 o'clock local time, 10 o'clock Central, but it'll come to a conclusion and we'll give you an official or an updated start time when we get closer to the end of this one. 2 balls, 2 strikes for Bunch. He gets a swing and a miss. Anderson down on strikes. Caleb Bunch dominant as he retires the Cougars in order. BYU 3 outs away from seeing their season come to a close. Baylor has an opportunity to add to their lead before the Cougars' final opportunity. 13-8 our score. Home half of the 8th inning. Alongside Alex Coyle, I'm Kyle Yeomans. Big 12 tournament action from Arizona. It's Garrison Sumner on the hill, the right-hander out of the BYU bullpen. Will face 4, 5, and 6 in the Baylor lineup. Reebok, Clements, and Bergman. First pitch. Just missed the outer edge. Not bad placement here from Sumner. That's kind of been the theme for BYU. He gave up the early runs. 5 runs the first 2 innings for the Baylor Bats. And even though they've given up 8 runs since then, it hasn't been for a lack of pitching. Pitching's actually been pretty efficient. Baylor's just put good bat on ball.
And 4 errors defensively for BYU. Yep. 4 of these runs unearned. Really the difference in the ball game.
I said Clements was on deck. It's actually Caraway that stepped out there. He stayed in after the pinch running scenario at the DH spot. So it should be Reebok followed by Caraway. And then Bergman after that as Reebok swings and misses. Good breaking ball from Sumner, 1 down.
A good downward action on that pitch, very similar to the offering he tossed in the 7th inning when he got Janusek to swing and miss. Attempts to put a cap on a nice season for him.
That's the first opportunity of the day for Bo Caraway. Entered as a pinch runner for Brighton Clements at second base. He'll get his first plate appearance. Caraway hitting 197 on the year. 13 hits, 5 RBIs. He's fallen victim to the strikeout quite a bit. 24 on the year. Offers up here. Winner of this game takes on Kansas, the regular season champions of the Big 12. KU finishing their season 22-8 through their 30 conference games. 1 win away from 40 on the campaign. Whoever wins this one, hoping it doesn't come in surprise and it maybe happens in the regionals down the line. Sumner. This is low.
That was a really nice article from Jeff Passan earlier today on how Kansas built their structure and built their program from a lot of guys in the JUCO ranks, and how quickly they've been able to put things together and make program history, like you just mentioned.
First regular season title since 1949. You think about the way that they jumped. I mean, they had 43 wins last year, went to a regional. They were the 2 seed in the Big 12, went 20-10 in conference play. Then you turn around and they're picked in the preseason, finished 5th out of 14 teams as Caraway is retired. Back-to-back strikeouts from Sumner. Caraway set down, bringing up Caleb Bergman. But it seemed like maybe Dan Fitzgerald and that Jayhawk squad felt a little overlooked. They had 43 wins last year. You're going to pick us 5th in the preseason poll. What's going on here? And they haven't done it by blowing anybody away on any sort of category. They were 5th in an ERA as a team. They were 8th in batting average as a team. But they just did the little things the right way. It was almost impossible to beat them at certain points in the year.
Yeah, they wanted to go out and get veteran baseball players, right? And that's what the JUCO ranks can help you do. Guys that have played some ball, just have a pure love for the game and are appreciative of the opportunity.
They'll look to be the first 1 seed in the Big 12 tournament to win the tournament since 2009. Texas Longhorns, the last top seed and regular season champion to win the tournament. Pretty incredible. And with this new format, they'll have to face a team that's already played so far. BYU completes a comeback. They'll have played 2 games already by the time they see Kansas, who opens up their tournament. If not, it'll be Baylor that plays the 1 game. There's the TCU Horned Frogs. They're coming up next, up against Kansas State. That one slated for that 11 p.m. start time. There's Kansas State on the other side. A lot of purple in the building for that one. 2 balls and 2 strikes the count to Bergman. Singled on the bunt attempt in the infield his last time up. Sumner looking to strike out the side in order, as he's set down the last 3 hitters on strikes.
And Baylor, you look at their bullpen and you're like, oh, double barrel action. No, it's just 4 guys playing extreme catch.
Yeah, I anticipate to see Bunch in the top half of the 9th, and that's where we're headed. Garrison Sumner strikes out 3 straight Bears in the 8th. But the BYU Bats, one last chance to continue their season when we come back. The Baylor Bears leading by 5 as we head to the 9th in Surprise, Arizona. Baylor has won 13 games and come from behind fashion this season. This would be number 14. Baylor looking for their first win at the tournament since 2019 and the first one of the Mitch Thompson era. They are 3 outs away from doing so. First pitch fouled away. They'll have to get through the heart of the BYU order. Ezra McNaughton, Ryder Robinson, and Easton Jones, who have been fantastic already this week, including the BYU 18-8 win over Texas Tech last night. That's one way to get it started. McNaughton flies out straightaway center, 1 down.
And that very well could end a very great season from Ezra McNaughton. 16 home runs, batting average above 350 entering this game. A good year of promise shown by BYU as they continually grow and grow entering this conference.
And they go from 7 wins in 2024 in conference play. Jump up to 10 wins last year, now 14 wins in their 3rd campaign. They finish up right at the 500 mark if they fall in this one. This is fouled away. But Trent Pratt has them moving in the right direction. He's got a great coaching staff underneath them, lots of pro talent and pro coaching experience on this staff. And they'll have the resources and a beautiful ballpark up in Provo. That one's turned on into right field. Ryder Robinson sends this one over the bullpen and out of the yard. BYU has their 6th homer of the year. And Robinson, our highlighted player to start this broadcast, says we're not done quite yet.
And if he does just play in 2 games, it'll be interesting, but he's putting together quite the resume to possibly be on the all-tournament team. That's what he's done. 7 hits over 2 games. This one yanked for a homer. His 11th of the year.
Immediately had a flyby by a couple of fighter jets as it left the yard. Might have heard that in the background. But Easton Jones will step in. He also would add to that resume if he can put together a hit. He had a triple and a couple of homers yesterday. He's walked 3 times today. And popped up in foul ground to the first baseman Armstrong his last time up. Going back to BYU in the season that they had, of course, they ended the regular season with a walk-off win over Kansas. They were picked 13th of 14 teams in the preseason poll, and really kind of an afterthought going into this 4th year under Coach Pratt. And you could see just how much they've had some success yesterday and throughout the season, putting together 14 conference wins. Lots of positivity from Provo. That one's tossed over to first by Bunch as the Cougars are down to their final out. It's Bryker Hertzman on. A senior out of St. George, Utah, and a transfer from Utah Tech, who will have the bases empty and a 4-run Baylor lead in front of them.
This will be a really nice win for Baylor. Jump out to a 5-0 lead and then very quickly a snap of the finger and you're down. To have it within yourself and a young group to go through the emotions and the ebbs and flows of an elimination game. And as you heard from Mitch Thompson, you can't really have emotion. It's either you win or you don't. And you get to play tomorrow or you don't. And right now looking like Baylor is going to get a chance to play tomorrow.
0-2 to Hertzman. Mitch Thompson told us pregame he feels really confident about how this Baylor squad has handled the week, has handled the end of the regular season. Feels like they're in a great spot mentally, physically. They had 3 great outings on the bump, and the bats showed up big time as Bunch has this one fouled away. Davenport started, ran into a little trouble. Ethan Calder came in, weathered the storm, and now Caleb Bunch looking to close things out. 0-2 on the way. Swing and a miss. Baylor is moving on to the quarterfinals of the Big 12 tournament. Their first tournament win since 2019.
Great performance from their bullpen to help set the tone and settle things down. Ethan Calder, one of his best performances of his long collegiate career. Bunch then slams the door. The offense does plenty, and plenty enough to supply them with the lead, and ultimately that victory.
Calder earns the win in what could be his final pitching performance for a university that his family heralds, the university that he's played with his entire career. He ends up at 5-5 on the year. We'll see if he's even called back into action, because even if he is needed later in the tournament, semifinals, finals, he pitched quite a bit today, maybe in spot duty. But what a performance by Calder to keep the Baylor bats within striking distance. And then how about the freshman Brady Janusek showing off that fountain of youth for the Baylor Bears. 5 RBIs, including a 3-run shot to put Baylor in front in the 6th inning, as the Bears are not done yet here in the desert.
And I think, look, winning is going to make Mitch Thompson happy no matter what, no matter how. But I think how this game and how this win transpired going to make him not only happy for the opportunity and what they have tomorrow, but also what the young core can do in the future with that Baylor program. It's a great foundation that's been set, and the more they get used to postseason baseball, the better that will be for them in that future.
And that's probably what this message is, as Mitch Thompson talks to the team. We'll take a look at the bracket. Baylor taking on Kansas. 3:30 Eastern start time tomorrow. They'll follow the conclusion of Central Florida and Oklahoma State. And it's Baylor taking on Kansas. First time that those two teams have met this season. So the Jayhawks and the Bears with a fresh slate across the board. And then our next game coming up in just a couple of minutes, TCU and Kansas State. Little purple pride on the line, and a slot against West Virginia on the table as well. Baylor gets it done over BYU. The Bears are moving on to the Big 12 baseball quarterfinals. For my partner Alex Coyle, our entire ESPN crew, I'm Kyle Yeoman saying so long from Surprise, Arizona. The final score one more time, Baylor 13, BYU 9. We'll see you next for Kansas State and TCU.